welcome to Add More Zest. My name's Rebecca, also known as 4Kids at 147, and I asked in a Thursday Whip and Waffle if any of you guys wanted to see the quilty bits that I picked up from Festival of Quilts. Quilting is an extremely new hobby to me, and so I'm not doing loads of videos on it, but I did ask if people wanted to see what I picked up, and the resounding answer was yes. So, well, I say the resounding answer. As I'm filming this, the video went up a couple of hours ago, and there was at least a couple of yeses in there. So I went, okay, tick done. I'm going to go do the video because all these items that I'm about to show you are on my drafting table. My drafting table lies flat, and they've all been put on there for the purposes of tidying up a little bit. And I want to put them away. It now needs the next level of tidying up. So I thought if I film this video, show you guys everything that I have got, I can then pop it all away without having to remember where I put everything. So I have quite a few goodies from Festival of Quilts. The only local place to me, or the easiest local place to me for fabric, is Hobbycraft, which of course have a limited range. And while I have made a couple of quilt tops from Hobbycraft, it's not going to keep me going long term because the fabric doesn't change quick enough, or they don't have, like, they have a good range but not a huge range. And ordering online is very hard. So I did go to Festival of Quilts in mind of, I wanted to make sure or try to get, you know, things that would make a complete quilt without me having to go shopping again. I'm still very much learning the fabrics and things like that, even the names of them, the brands of them, the shops that sell them. I am rather clueless on quite a bit of it, so I will do my best to say where I got things from. I'm hoping that many things have labels on them, which will help me. But yeah, I might be absolutely clueless in relation to it. But I went to to the Festival of Quilts with in mind trying to get things that will hopefully do a full quilt, or at least very close to a full quilt, so I don't struggle to then find backing, etc. I was also on the lookout for backing for my 2 quilt tops that I have done. That was the intention. I did then go to Hobbycraft again a few days later because I wasn't able to get all backing fabric that I wanted. So I went to sort of tie that up, and I picked up these project boxes. So these are We Are Memory Keepers boxes, and these are going to become my ongoing project boxes. So you will find that I have bits from both, but I figured rather than split it up, I'll just tell you as I go. So I did do a video the other day on my 2 quilt tops that don't yet have a bottom or a back. This is one of them, and you can see that video if you want to see the full quilt itself. I did pick up a yellow backing for this. However, Catherine saw it and decided that she wanted it for her quilt, which I will show you the fabrics for. So I did actually, I've just realised this is actually quite a bit brighter, but I still think it'll work. So I decided to pick this backing up from Hobbycraft to pop on the back of this quilt, sort of bright and funky. And yeah, so that will work for the back of this quilt when I get around to putting it together. So yeah, so I picked that up, and then I picked up, so that was Hobbycraft as well, and then I picked up some of this gorgeous checker for my binding. Now there is a lot here because Catherine wants a full bright rainbow quilt, and I thought this backing would look good on hers as well. So this is currently for both. So yeah, that's all in one project box. I am hoping to get that put together soon. The only reason I'm not putting the back on this my first project is because Catherine would like her quilt done by the time she goes back to uni. I don't like her chances, but I'm going to at least try. So that's a quick sort of well, that's all Hobbycraft. This one's all Hobbycraft as well, actually. So this is my other quilt top. I was looking for a fabric sort of this type of colour, I was initially thinking, with a nice backing for being my backing fabric. I wanted something with more of a pattern in it than this, but I didn't see anything at the show, and of course I forgot to take this. So what I decided to do was use the same fabric that is in the odd square as my backing. And this is going to be my binding. So I picked these up from Hobbycraft. They didn't have enough of this to potentially be my full back, so I got an extra metre of this, and I thought I would just put like a strip in the back just to give a little bit of variety on the back of the quilt. So that is another one that I am hoping to finish. I do have the batting. I have quite a bit of batting for both, so I've got everything to finish this one and everything to finish the other one, but Catherine wants her quilt making first, and this is one of the fabrics that I picked up at Festival of Quilts. So Catherine really liked the colours of the quilt that I did, but her favourite colour is yellow, and she really didn't like the fact that yellow wasn't in there. She's also, after looking at it, decided that she wants squares, so I'm going to be doing a square with some white. So I have stock white, but it's going to be like a square of red, a square of white, a square of orange, a square of white, all the way across, and then it's going to offset, so it will go in a diagonal as well as all the way across. So we've got what? Red, yellow, orange. Richard of York gave battle, and then we have pink rather than indigo, and violet, but she wanted pink, so I picked these up for her quilt. I did pick up 2 fat quarters. I think it's 2 fat quarters of each. I'm not very good with sizes, etc. either. I actually don't know what brand this one is. I think it may be the same brand as this one. Which I'm not sure. I can't get hold of it. Let me put them down. So this is what I picked up to do the back of the other quilt with, but Catherine likes it. She doesn't mind that the yellows are slightly different. She wants yellow stars all over the back of her quilt. So this is an Alexia Marcel fabric by the looks of it. Gaze at the Stars. Oh, Ruby Star Society. So I'm not sure. Ruby Star, that's the name that I recognise, Ruby Star fabric. I think this might be Ruby Star as well. I actually got them both from the same stall. I had a sneaky suspicion that Catherine would like this for the back of hers. So rather than get enough for the 2, I decided to just get the 1, and if she wanted it, then I could pick a different colour for my quilt, which in turn I did end up doing. So this is in a project bin. This is the one I need to start, and as I say, I do already have some basic Hobbycraft white, and I'm going to add that to this, and I'm hoping to start cutting this soon so that I can get this all stitched up for it. It's squares, so I reckon it's going to go together a whole lot quicker than my first quilt. So that was one of the other things. I had a couple of things on my list. So I had the backing fabrics, which kind of failed, but then I've dealt with what Hobbycraft had and found. I also wanted to make sure that I picked up the fabrics for Catherine's quilt. She told me the colours she wanted, so I needed to pick those up, which I did. And in turn, I've done her backing. And I was also partly looking out for a quilt or some quilt fabrics for my hubby. Well, there isn't any that he saw that grabbed him, but he's happy that I've got projects to do and he'll just use one of them that's available at the moment. So tick done on all that, which means the rest is probably stuff I didn't need. But it is definitely a few projects. One of the first shops, we've had the first like proper look round stall I went to was Bramble Patch. Absolutely loved Bramble Patch, just saying. They had all of these quilts available for you to see, so I was able to see the colourways, see what grabbed me. And yeah, actually look at it. They sold them in quilt kits. Probably not the cheapest way for me to do it, but in a way for me it is. I very much like having a purpose for the things that I've got, and I reckon I will build up a stash of fabric as I go along. Anyway, I didn't want to go and just pick up fabric that I liked and have no idea what went together. So this is the first one. This makes, so I do need wadding and backing for this one. I actually got the backing. But yeah, it basically doesn't come with the wadding and the backing, but it comes with all the quilt top. So the instructions, you get all the instructions, the quilt top and the binding is all included in this one. But look how gorgeous these are. So I think this might be for one of my like great nephews. Just think, absolutely beautiful. This might be for the baby. We've got a little bit more there. We've got this gorgeous woodland one, checker, bear, dotty, and some mushrooms. This is the one, this one is the bigger piece that goes in the middle. So if you can see, we've got a bigger piece in the middle and then some strips around the outside and what looks like some scrappy binding. So I think that's actually the first kit that I picked up, that I actually chose, though I got very distracted with others as I went along. For that one, I did also pick up off the bolt fabric for the back. What fabric is this one? Riley Blake Designs, Elma and Eloise. Well, that's the kit name, Elma and Eloise. So that is going to be the back of the quilt. So this one, apart from, of course, my batting, which is fine. I know where I can get the batting off the lady that helped me into this crazy hobby. I can get that fairly easily. So all I need to add to this one is batting, and I have a quilt. So that is one kit. Then I picked up this second kit. So this one is a finished size of 56 inch square. Now for this one, they didn't have enough material there with them for a backing. However, they have advised me that I can email them, which I do need to do, and they will have a look at what they have in the range that would be suitable, and they can deal with it via email for me. But look at the colours of these. Very much drawn to the blues. I did try to, I mean, I have got another sort of I either seem to be drawn to the blues or the very bright. But look, how gorgeous is that? So I need to get backing for this one, and I need to make sure that I email them soon, because my only thing with not getting it straight away is whether I can get something that I feel goes the best. I mean, I've always got a backup of just getting something that's black and white or grey, but I'd rather not try and rummage around finding a back and not finishing it up. So that is number 2. This is Bramble Patch Online, by the way, if you want to have a look. I fell in love with quite a few of their kits. This is the 3rd one that I got. This one is called Silhouettes. I may change up the actual way this is done and make it more a mixture of black and white than black going into white. I'm not quite sure yet. I think I'm going to make the patches and see, but I absolutely love the fabric. Now for this one, again, they didn't have, I went on the Saturday, so bear in mind they'd already had all the seasoned quilters there for 2 days raiding their stock before I got there. So they didn't necessarily have enough for like full-on backing with them. But this one is black, white, well, black, cream and grey. So this one will be a lot easier to find a backing for. Or I could potentially go for any colour on the opposite side and go for the contrast. But this one is a finished quilt size of 56-inch square. And just love it. Absolutely love it. Even the black that looks like it's going to be the binding. Just after only having hold of like basic fabrics, albeit pretty, but basic fabrics that, you know, the biggest range that Hobbycraft have are lots of fat quarters, which, you know, are great for variety, but you can't make a backing out of them easily, not without buying loads of bundles. To see all this fabric in one place was just absolute heaven. So that is my kit number 2, no, 3, kit number 3. So I have instructions. I am able to go ahead and do quilts. I have some fabric, oh, focus, no, that's not that one, that's that one. I also have another tub here with literally all the sort of bitty bits, and one of the bits that's in here goes with this, so I'm just going to try and find that before I get to all my little bits and bobs. One very crinkly, there it is, that's what I'm looking for. So this is Janet Clare. I was looking at her sort of quilt kit. So this is janetclaire.co.uk. I'm pretty sure it was her sort of stall and she sold fabric, but please forgive me if I'm wrong. But she had loads and loads of different sort of quilting instructions. This one grabbed my eye. There is another layout way of doing it as well, but the idea is this is to do with a jelly roll. Now I know jelly rolls are not the most cost-effective way of getting fabric, but from watching YouTube videos, reels, all the rest of it, it is something that I at least wanted to give it a go. So I was loving the idea that I could get a pattern that, one, looks like I can do it without having to think too much, but second, would give me a go to use a jelly roll. For this one, again, they didn't have enough fabric for me to do a backing in the same range, but at least I have, you know, the stuff now. But the idea is you take a jelly roll to do all the stripes, and then to do your binding, and then you get fabric for these big long strips, which is what this one is. And I don't know if you can see, this has, I was very drawn to its Moda. I was very drawn to one of their blues. It's like Starry Night or something. Absolutely gorgeous blues in that. But I decided to go for this one for the pop of lime green. I thought once it's actually made up, this will appeal to me a little bit more. So all those strips will be mixed up with big fat strips of this one. This may end up being hubby's quilt, who knows. And I could potentially do the likes of those dots as a background, or I could pick a nice navy for the background, or I could even pick a white. So I can find the backing fabric if I need to for this, or I may go and have a look at the fabric range and pick one to be a backing, possibly one of the green ones, maybe that green one. There's a green one there that's got like a grid on it. I'm not sure if you can see it. That might make a very nice backing. So I need to go online and have a look, so I can potentially put that to one side. So that is another kit that I got. What else did I, oh, I got one more lot of fabric that I figured could potentially make a kit. This is the only one that I don't have a pattern for. So all the others I either got as a quilt kit, or like this one, I got the pattern and the fabric to make that pattern. Because again, I want it to be something that I can complete. So there's two lots of fabric that I got that don't have a pattern. This is the first one, but I fell in love with this stall. There was a few patterns that she did do, and they are beautiful. So if you're a quilter or a fabric person, go and have a look at lovefrombeth.com. These are all made by herself, so they're all her own fabrics, and this bundle just grabbed me. Absolutely grabbed me. It's got the nice moodiness to it, with the pops of bright colour. And as I say, there was a couple of patterns there that I absolutely loved that she had, and they are amazing. However, they were like curves and circles, and I don't quite know if I'm there yet. So I do have the details if I get through a couple of my other kits and feel like I want to try. So I did pick up the fabric bundle. I'm not sure if they are fat eighths or fat quarters. I'm not actually sure. It doesn't say on there, but look at some of the work she does. And I did pick up a complimentary, I went dark and moody colour to go with. So this will make a quilt. I just don't know which quilt. So that's sort of my fearing off just a little bit. And then the only other fabric I picked up, oh, I've got another quilt kit yet. I keep forgetting about that one because it's in a bag. I'll show you that one in a minute. The only fabric I picked up without any design choice whatsoever were these fat quarters. It was like £13, I think, for the 5 of them. And I just thought it was beautiful. It's got silver, it's more like a Christmassy one. It's got silver snowflakes, silver stars. There's silver stars in there. That's again is more stars, and this gorgeous complementary pink. So this I reckon will need to be teamed up with like white or cream, but I figured I could make this into a quilt by adding a basic. That was my idea. Again, I don't have a quilt pattern for this one yet, but this was probably the cheapest fabric I picked up, so I just thought it was gorgeous. Just absolutely love the colours. So I will find a project for that in the future. This was the other kit that I picked up. This is a flyaway charm quilt. I haven't opened this fully either. I do need to dissect the instructions. This is from Dewberry Fabrics, but it was the colourway. It was the fact that it was a bit of a different sort of moody colourway. I feel like it's a different blue, and it grabbed me. They had the quilt made up. They had the quilt made up in the background, and all the colouring of it just spoke to me as actually being different from the others. Even though there is some blues in there, it's a whole different vibe when you add in the browns, and the price was good. Not that I can remember how much it was now, but the price was good, and that makes a quilt 49 by 49. Again, I am quite possibly going to have to find a backing for this one. So I may need to go on a bit of a mini mission soon to check out the fabrics, find the manufacturer fabrics that I've got, establish what type of backing I may need, and try and get that together so that I make up my own quilt kit. So that is my quilt kits. So how many quilts can I make now? So I've got Catherine's, then I got 3 kits in boxes. I've got a kit with a jelly roll. I've got this kit, and then I've got this that I can make a quilt out of, and this one that I need to add quite a bit more, but I can make a quilt out. So I can make 8 quilts from what I picked up. I figured that would keep me busy for a year. The idea is to keep me going until Festival of Quilts next year. In addition to that, I did pick up some other bits. I've got leaflets galore as well. This is what I've sort of thrown in this tub. But oh, I've got that. Can you tell how organised I am? This is why I need to be able to tidy it away. So this was a little free gift from Moda, because I did purchase some Moda fabrics. All that bright stuff might be Moda actually, because it was that store that then gave me this, or gave me the token to get this from Moda. But this fabric is Moda, so even if the other one isn't, this one is. Or maybe, yeah, I don't know. That is what I need to learn. That's the part of quilting that I've not yet learnt. But yeah, so this is some of my quilty things. That was a little freebie, along with lots of leaflets and things that I have in here, and receipts that I've sort of kept hold of for places I might need to contact. Also, while we were grabbing a quick coffee and cold drink from the Wetherspoons in the NEC, there was a lady having a cold drink on her own, and I spotted she had quilt stuff. So I just went over and had a chat for about 20 minutes, half an hour, while hubby had a bit of a rest. I had a natter, and she had this true cut. She'd actually got a full set with a ruler and stuff, but I was looking out for a new rotary cutter, or another rotary cutter. The one I have has like a lever to take the guard off, so you squeeze it to release the guard to be able to cut, which is perfectly fine when you're just doing a very small amount of cutting. When you're doing a lot of cutting, that can get annoying fast. So she highly recommended this, primarily because of the angle that you hold it. You can get their rulers and you can use the guide, which stops you wobbling off. But at the moment, have a couple of rulers that I'm happy with, so I thought I would give the cutter a go first. So I picked up the Comfort Cutter, hoping that getting all my fabrics prepped, this would be a benefit. And then they did give me a free canvas bag and some little grips for popping on the back of rulers to stop them sliding. So that was a freebie that was purchased. What else did I... Oh, this is from Love from Beth. You could enter like a little mini lucky dip while you were there making a purchase. And I won this little pack. So this is a load of her fabrics that she does. So some of them are in my bundle that I have, like this one. But this sort of colourway isn't. But as you can see, they are just so bright. That's what I like, the fact that there's that pop of bright mixed in with the more subtle. That's the one I got in the big piece. So it's nice to have this, even if it's just to have a sample of a few different fabrics that she does, and then I can actually tell what the colours are when I go on the website. I find that quite handy. That might make a nice backing one. That's not one that I have in here, so I could always have a look and say, oh, that one would be a nice backing for that quilt, or pick one of these, and then at least I could order it online. I don't mind ordering online if I know what I'm ordering. So yeah, that was a little win from the lucky dip. I also picked up some Aurifil, I think that's the way it's pronounced, thread. This is the thread that was recommended to us by the lady that does quilting. It doesn't clog up your machine with fluff as much. It doesn't tend to snap, and I have found that. We have had, we actually bought some along with my Go Me cutting machine for doing my first quilt. We've been using it. It's never snapped on me. So yeah, I already have a couple of basic ones. I did pick up a cream coloured one in case I'm doing a quilt that is very light. At the minute I have sort of a grey colour, bit of a use for everything. So I picked up one of those, and then I picked up a couple of the heavier weight ones, the 40, for quilting on the top. So I got one that was blue and yellow. I already have a rainbow thread that I'd picked up for quilting Catherine's fabric bright quilt, but I picked up this one. I thought this would work with one of the baby type quilts. That would be a good one. It would actually quite possibly work with this as well, though I hadn't purchased this at the time, and a black and white one. So just a couple of different threads to try for quilting that will give me a little bit of variance. But I had in mind the blue and yellow quilt kit that I'd picked up and the black and white kit that I'd picked up because I got these shortly after those kits. So that's that. I also, this was another store I loved. So it is screen printed linen and cotton fabrics by Colette Moscrop. Some of the fabrics were absolutely gorgeous. However, I haven't yet quilted with anything that's not just cotton. And as much as they have some cotton fabrics, and I love them, I liked the sort of mixture of the two that you get with the linen and the cotton and the printed white linen. So rather than pick up some fabrics that I just picked up a couple of pieces and had no idea what to put it with, I did decide to pick up a cushion kit. So this one is a green one, even though the instructions are blue. But yeah, I picked that up so that I could make myself a cushion and give me that little bit of playtime with a different type of fabric, but not too much. So I got one of those, and I also got a pin cushion with crushed nutshells, because I actually don't have a pin cushion. So I picked those up. That was a little bit more of an impulse splurge than thought out, but I still have fun doing that little side project. And then last but by no means least, the last thing I did pick up was this block on board die, fabric cutting die. I have a Go Me machine that I use to cut all my triangles for my triangle quilt, because they actually cut the corners off, which means you don't have to then go and recut them. Laziness, precision, all the triangles were exactly the same. It worked for me. And I was having a look there potentially at what other dies they did, whether to get any other ones, and partly to have a natter with them. And they had some examples of these. And then actually the examples were different to even what's on the front. So I'm not sure if you can tell if you're a quilter or not, but this is a separate triangle, and then this is a square, and this is a triangle, and this is a square, and you sew the bits together. But the example they had, all this blue, or what's blue on here, was white based. So there was some little bits of gold or pattern on it, but it was primarily white. And then just the tips of the stars were done in a colour, and then this was done in a white, and this middle square was done in a white, and it really stood out. And the reason I picked this up is one thing that I have had on my mind that I want to do is I wanted to be able to do a quilt block. I'm not quite sure of the size, though it's going to end up being this size, which I think is 10 inch when it's finished, that contained some, if not all, or some of the scraps of every quilt that I've made. So by just doing these triangle points, both big ones and small ones, and then adding in a white, whether it be from the quilt itself that I've just made or a basic white, I can make myself one of these with the scraps for every quilt that I do, and then I will figure out how it all goes together. So I will do green triangles, and maybe even some black in there as well, but green and black points, and then use the white fabric that I've used in my triangle quilt in the background. And then on this one I will then do the rainbow colours. Now there are 7 colours and 8 points, but I do have the backing, which is another green, so I might bring in the backing and do that as one of the other points, and then I'll just have a little memory of every quilt that I've done. And then they gifted me this precision piecing, so it's just a gentle hold fabric glue that I can just pop a little bit on before I feed it through the machine, and I don't have to pin it, which is always good. Lovely, lovely lady on this stall. So this is from Quilt Direct, and I did have to go back because I forgot to get my cutting mat, but what they do while they're there is when you order a die, they put it all through their system and then they post it out to you. So it was great, we didn't have to carry this home on the tray. So yeah, they are my, ooh, that is so noisy. You should have heard me in the train station when my bag kept bashing against it. So yeah, they are my purchases from the Festival of Quilts. I can completely see why people go for multiple days. I did have a quick look at some of the quilts, but to be honest, for somebody who hasn't been quilting for long, it was great, but it was so much information to take in and to try and figure out and all the rest of it, that I didn't get as much time as I'd maybe have liked to appreciate the fabric, the quilting that had been done. Plus I would have then wanted to try and find out what fabric they had, and ended up setting myself up for something extremely complicated, no doubt. But yeah, that is my haul from Festival of Quilts, which I say I'm hoping will keep me busy for about a year, until the Festival of Quilts is on again, and then hopefully by then I'll be a bit more of a pro. But yeah, I know I need to start with the rainbow quilt because of my daughter's request. I have no idea which one I'm going to start with afterwards. Quite probably one that is more blocky than triangles, though I am going to sort of a sew along event where they are doing more of a triangle based quilt, so I'm hoping that spending a few days with those ladies will get me up in the know in relation to quilt fabrics, tools, etc. So yeah, that ended up being a lot longer video than what I thought it would be. Very much waffling on, very much don't know a lot about fabrics, but I hope you could, even if you are not a quilter, hopefully you too can still see that it is pretty, and that's the main thing. Well, that one's printed in Japan. We Love Christmas by Stoff Fabrics. Oh, there we go. Always good when you get one with a little bit of the name and stuff on the end, so maybe that's something, it is something I need to do at some point over the next few weeks, is just have a look, see if I need to pick up any sort of yardage for backing, and actually get sewing. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you all again soon.